This is a product video for the Lionel Legacy 484 Milwaukee Road S-3 steam locomotives. In the styrofoam packaging you will receive an instruction manual on how to load the Legacy module into your remote, the instruction manual for the S-3, the wrench used to take the side rod screws out to change traction tires, smoke fluid pipette, smoke fluid funnel, 2 replacement traction tires, the shoulder screw for the dummy O-gauge coupler, which is used on the front of the locomotive for double heading, an optional apron for the front of the tender, and finally the Legacy memory module. This locomotive is available in 4 product numbers: 6-11229, which is the Milwaukee Road 261, 6-11230, which is a Milwaukee Road S-3 cab number 267, 6-11312, Milwaukee Road S-3 cab number 265, and finally 6-11267, which is an undecorated pilot model of the Milwaukee Road S-3. This is a shot of the engineer side of the locomotive. The locomotive has an opening and closing cab roof hatch. Underneath the steam chest, right here, or steam dome, on the top of the locomotive is where the switches are located. That cover is held on with magnets. This is the fireman's side of the locomotive. One thing that is important to note is that the handrails on both sides of the boiler act as the antenna for the command receiver inside your locomotive. The stanchions that hold the handrails off of the boiler serve 2 features. 1, they're the stanchions, and 2, they're made of plastic. So they act as an insulator to keep the handrails from shorting out to the ground that is the actual boiler, polarity. These handrails come down past the boiler front into plastic stanchions on the pilot, all along the boiler, and then down along the cab. Just want to take a moment and show you the front of the Milwaukee S-3 locomotive. We've got separately controlled marker lamps, front headlight with number boards, the Mars light, which operates when the locomotive is moving, the bell, detail of the warning horn. We've got a scale coupler that's folded up, which can be folded down. We also have a dummy O-gauge coupler that can replace this scale coupler to allow you to lash it up, or multiple unit operation with other steam locomotives or diesels. I'd like to just take a moment and show you how to install the O-gauge dummy coupler on the Milwaukee S-3s. You're going to need a number 0 flathead screwdriver blade to remove the screw that holds on the scale coupler. It is a flathead. Simply install our flathead screwdriver and unscrew the horizontal screw. Remove it. When it comes out, the scale coupler comes off. To install our O-gauge dummy coupler, remove the coupler and the shoulder screw that it comes with. Place the shoulder screw through the coupler. That screw mounts right here on this plate that's accessible once the scale coupler is removed. Screw it in, give it a slight turn to ensure it's tight, and the O-gauge dummy coupler is mounted. This O-gauge dummy coupler can be used to couple to any other O-gauge freight car, locomotive, diesel, steam engine, makes no difference. With that front coupler installed, you can run your Milwaukee S-3 in a multiple unit consist with no problems at all. One of the new features on these S-3 locomotives is a close couple drawbar. The way that this works is when the tender is coupled to the drawbar is sucked in as close as it can be to the back of the locomotive. Then as the locomotive encounters a curve, the drawbar actually extends out from the locomotive, and then when it reaches the straightaway, sucks back into the locomotive. This allows both the tender and the back cab of the locomotive not to pinch each other when it goes around the curve. Your Milwaukee Road S-3 comes with a separately applied cab apron. The reason that we've included this is because this apron has details along the side. Because this apron here is molded into the shell, we weren't able to get that detail on the side edges of this cast-in piece itself. So what we've done is we've included this side apron detail piece separately. It simply slides onto or over top of the cast-in apron. Positions on the tender like that. It's not a requirement that the apron be applied, but it's there to provide you with the utmost in detail for this particular model. The switches for our Milwaukee Road S-3 steam locomotive are located right on the top of the locomotive. The first switch we have is the program run switch. Program to program the engine ID number, run to operate the locomotive. In conventional mode, the program position is the E-unit lockout switch to keep the locomotive running in one direction at all times. The run position is the on switch, which allows you to cycle through all three directional states. The next switch is the Odyssey on-off switch. This is for our speed control. In the on position, the speed control is enabled and allows the locomotive to maintain a steady speed regardless of track conditions or load. In the off position, speed control is disabled. Third switch we have is the primary smoke on and off. This would be for the primary smoke unit or the smokestack smoke unit. In the on position, it's on. In off, it's in off, and it cannot be overridden by the cab, either cab 1 or cab 2. And the final switch is the auxiliary smoke unit on and off. In the off position, for either the primary smoke or the auxiliary smoke, you cannot turn the smoke unit on or off with a cab 1 or a cab 2 remote. Both switches must be in the on position to control them on and off with a cab. To program our cab for our Milwaukee Road S-3, we want to make sure that we load our module. So I have here a Milwaukee Road S-3 number 261 memory module. So to do this, we're going to use our numbering convention of engine 61, the last two digits of the cab number. Go ahead and open up the dust cover on the top of our cab and insert our memory module with the silver circle L facing up. Once the module is inserted, we can press the info key in the upper right hand corner. We go down to load. The display screen tells us the module is inserted. It's a Milwaukee 11229 S-3 number 261. Load engine data? Yes. Press the icon for yes. Tells us that the engine data is loaded, and to remove the module to continue. We remove the module and press info to get out of this screen. But before we do, I'd like to show you real quick, by pressing the scroll button, it has set our type to Steam. Scroll again has set our control to Lionel Legacy, and has set our sound to Legacy Rail Sounds. This is important because now the Legacy base is going to send a 9-bit digital signal to our locomotive to ensure that we get all of the Legacy features. When we address engine 61, you'll notice the road number appears momentarily and Milwaukee S-3 stays on the top of our screen. When we press the aux1 key, the icons here are specific to our Milwaukee S-3. We have volume up, crew talk, steam let off, volume down. When we're sitting at idle, this is our shutdown icon. When we're moving, it's the emergency stop icon. We have steam blowdown, tower comm, smoke off, smoke on, marker lights on, marker lights off, engine reset, Rule 17 lighting on, and Rule 17 lighting off. By pressing the speed bar, we have all of our railroad speed steps pre-programmed, smoke off, smoke on, our bar graph for the intensity of the chuff. This is directly related to the effects button up and the effects button down. As we press effects up, you'll see up here it says labor increase as our chart goes up. And when we press the down button, it says labor decrease and this chart goes down. To get back to the main icon screen, we simply press aux1. Okay, let's get the locomotive lubricated. We can get it on the track and begin running. Before we get our Milwaukee Road S-3 out on the track, we want to make sure that we do a little preventive maintenance and pre-oil the locomotive before we run it. To do this, I've got a light oil applicator with a needle on the end of the bottle. We want to make sure that we apply just a small dab of oil on the axles where they go through the frame into the bearings. Just a small drop of oil is all that's required as a bit of preventive maintenance. We want to make sure we do this to both sides of the frame. We want to make sure that we apply oil on the ends of our axles back here on the trailing truck where they go into the bearings. A small dab here on the ground strap and also on this side of the truck. And on this ground strap. We want to apply oil to the axles on the collectors. This will prevent the collectors from squeaking when we're running the locomotive. And work those in with your fingers. And then also on the axles where they go through the pilot truck, or the pilot truck frame. And just a small drop of oil is all that's required, nothing heavy or excessive. We also want to be sure that we oil the side rod screws as well. To do this, simply lay the locomotive on its side using the same needle style applicator. We're just going to put a small drop of oil on each side rod screw. On the eccentric and also on that screw. This locomotive features a non-locking gearbox, so you can rotate the drivers while it's off the track and it's not running to go ahead and work that oil into position. You also want to perform the same task on the side rod screws on the opposite side of the locomotive. We also want to make sure that we pre-lubricate our tender before we operate it as well. And again, using our needle applicator with oil, we're simply going to apply a drop of oil on the axles where they enter into the bearings and the side frames of the truck. Just a small drop of oil on each axle. And then we also want to make sure we put just a small dab of oil on the axle for the collector to prevent that collector from squealing on us when we're running the engine. Okay, we're almost ready. One thing I do want to point out is that underneath the water hatches on your locomotive, you have your volume control switch. The volume pod is here underneath this rearmost water hatch. There's nothing underneath the forwardmost water hatch. Okay, now that our locomotive is lubricated, before we get to actually running it, we want to make sure that we put smoke fluid into the locomotive. So to do this, we're going to use our 6-62909 Lionel smoke fluid. We're going to fill our pipette up about 3/4 of the way to the first line and make sure that we put that into the main stack. A couple puffs of air to make sure we get the airway clear. And it's also a good idea to blow down the stack after you put fluid in it to make sure there's no meniscus or hydrolock in the stack to prevent the smoke from coming out. So now we need to program our locomotive using our last 2 digits of the cab number convention. We'll go ahead and remove the steam dome hatch. We're going to place the engine in program. We're going to apply track power. And since we've already programmed our cab for engine 61, we simply press engine 6-1 and the set button. We get the whistle to confirm that it's taken the command. We can now place the engine back in the run position. Our program run switch is now in run. Our Odyssey switch is on. Our smoke switch is on. And our auxiliary smoke is on. We'll go ahead and replace that hatch. We'll go ahead and turn the smoke unit on by pressing aux1 and the smoke on button 3 times so we can get the smoke high. You can see the smoke starts coming out immediately. It may take a few seconds for your engine to heat up the first time. And we're going to go ahead and get the locomotive running. As we begin running, you'll notice the smoke come out of the steam chest. These Milwaukee S-3s have steam cylinder smoke effects. The sound that you hear is normal. It's representing a blowdown of the steam chest to remove any moisture from the cylinders. After a short period of that hissing sound, it will start chuffing. This is normal operation. One thing that you want to note is that you can make the steam cylinder effects anytime you want by simply pressing aux1 and holding down the steam blowdown button or the 6 position on your touchpad. Each time you do that, you'll get smoke out of the steam chest. The holes on the steam chest are on the bottom, so they blow straight down. I'll go ahead and show you one of the whistles. The Milwaukee S-3s are actually equipped with 3 different whistles. I'm going to go ahead and actually lower the volume just slightly so you can hear my voice over the whistle sound. Here's the first whistle. By pressing the aux1 key, or straight arrow button 1 time, I'm able to get to the warning horn sound. By pressing the aux1, or straight arrow key, for a 2nd time, I get to the 3rd warning horn sound, which is a whistle. To get back to the first whistle, I simply press aux1 or the straight arrow key 1 more time. And now I'm back to the first whistle you heard. Here's a shot of the bell. Crew talk.
Water's full. Engine is at restricted speed. Out.
Tower comm.
Dispatcher here. All clear inbound. Over. Roger that. We have the green. Out.
As you can see, turning the marker light button off and on, I'm able to turn off my front marker lights independent. aux2 or the AUX2 or the diverging route button will turn my headlights on and off, as well as my marker lights. Pressing it again turns it back on. If I put the locomotive in reverse or by pressing the direction button, my backup light on my tender comes on. I've got a rear coil coupler, accessible with the R button. This locomotive also has sequence control, which is very simple to access with your Cab 2 remote. Simply press the aux1 key or the straight arrow button for 3 seconds. You'll get 2 bells and a whistle to signify you're in sequence mode. We'll press that now. That tells me I'm in sequence mode. Now when I go to speed step 1, no actual movement will occur. It'll just start to spool up all the sounds.
Dispatcher, we got your signal. I'm green. Over. Acknowledged. Out.
I'm going to go to speed step 2 now. The bell will turn on and the engine will begin moving.
Dispatcher, we're moving. Over. Copy that. Have a good run. Out.
As I increase and decrease the throttle, the sounds will automatically respond to the changes in the speed steps. The sequence mode is simply a pre-recorded sequence of sounds that occurs based on throttle motion. Adds a little bit of fun to the operation. If you have a Cab 2 and a legacy system, we encourage you to try it on any of your newer Lionel locomotives. You can go ahead and get the speed step up a bit more, get past speed step 23 so my bell turns off. I'm increasing the labor using the up FX button. You can hear the increase in the intensity of the chuff. I'm now going to use the down button to decrease the intensity of the chuff. These are all manual functions that I'm doing right off the Cab 2 remote. Whistle. Oh, warning horn. Press aux1 2 times to get back to the whistle I want. As you can see, our smoke has stopped coming out of the stack. That's because we've got a blockage in the stack. If we blow down the stack slightly, we can clear that blockage. Go ahead and hit the squealing brakes. Okay, go ahead and turn the smoke unit off.